All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome. We're glad to see everyone here this evening. It is 6:30, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum present. This meeting of the Seguin Independent School District has been duly called, and notice this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Opens Meeting Act, Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. Mr. Jenkins will be leading us in the pledges this evening. And now I'll give everybody time for a moment of silence. Okay, good evening. Some of you, I think, have not been here in a while, so we're really happy to see you. Some of you probably have never been here, so we're really excited to see you. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gutierrez for his announcements.
Good evening. We have a few announcements to share this evening as we are quickly approaching the first day of school. We welcomed our campus leaders back this week with a leadership summit being held in this room yesterday through Thursday. I'm glad to see so many returning and new faces who are poised to lead us in a year that holds many unknowns. We are sharpening our focus by the day, and I know that our campus leaders are poised for a great year of learning. Our back to school plans are coming along well. Student registration, which is online, opened last week. As of 4:30 today, we have had 2,017 students registered so far. Our technology team has done a great job making this happen for our students. On Tuesday, August 3rd at 5 p.m., I'm hosting a virtual town hall for parents and families to log in and learn more about some of our new initiatives as well as health and safety plans for this upcoming school year. Communication about the town hall went out today, and we will continue to spread the word as we get closer to next Tuesday. We are planning an annual convocation ceremony for the morning of Thursday, August 12th in the Student Activity Center at Seguin High School. We will forward details of this event to trustees and staff in the coming days. Already, schools are planning how they can win the coveted Matador Spirits Day. Matador Family Day is also slated for August 13th. On this day, Central Administration staff will spend the morning at campuses across the district to assist teachers and campus administrators in the preparation for the first day of school. 3 days later is August 16th, which marks the first day of the new school year for Seguin ISD. We are proud, we are prepared, and we are eager to provide the best for our Seguin ISD students and families. It is going to be a great year.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. Next up our agenda is for us to recognize a very special individual. So I'm going to turn it over again to Dr. Gutierrez.
We're going to recognize Caden Legore, a Seguin High School junior. If Caden Legore will please come forward. Seguin High School junior Caden Legore had quite a school year during the 2021 school year. Among his many accomplishments, Caden represented the district at the Business Professionals of America 2021 Virtual National Leadership Conference, where he finished 4th place in the nation in business law and ethics. Also, after that huge accomplishment, he took 1st place in chemistry at the Alamo Regional Science and Engineering Fair. Caden advanced to the state level and secured a 2nd place finish at the Texas Science and Engineering Fair in the Biomedical Sciences category for his project titled Mask Mitigation. Caden also excelled in the arena of fine arts. At the Band UIL Solo and Ensemble Contest, Caden earned 1st division in percussion and was also a state qualifier. At the Choir UIL Solo and Ensemble Contest, Caden received a Class 1 solo medal and a Class 1 ensemble medal, qualifying for state in both divisions. Congratulations and continued success, Caden. We are Matador proud.
No, he's just standing back there. Dave, you want to be? Okay.
That's awesome.
Well, Caden, we can't wait to see what you have in store for your senior year. That junior year was very impressive. All right, next up on our agenda is audience with the board. We designated time for audience participation at the beginning of each meeting to hear persons who desire to make comments in accordance with board policy BED local. Those wishing to speak shall sign up before the meeting begins, stating the concern or noting the agenda item they wish to address. Audience participation is limited to 5 minutes. The board shall not deliberate on any subject that is not on the posted agenda. So this evening we do have 3 people signed up to address the board. First up, we have Mr. Trevor Haas, who's going to be speaking about baseball and softball facilities. Mr. Haas.
I suddenly did feel very unaccomplished following that. I have to read this, actually. Hello. My name is Trevor Haas. My wife Melissa and I have three sons. 2 of them have gone through the baseball program and have graduated, and we still have 1 currently in the program. I'm really not much of a public speaker, but I felt it was very important to come tonight and to urge you guys to vote to build new baseball, softball fields on campus. Our baseball and softball programs have kind of been left behind during the recent revitalization of the high school campus. The baseball practice field currently does not have any lights, and Smokey Joe does not have batting cages. Therefore, the coaches have to split the time at both places in order for the kids to have field time on what's supposed to be our home field. This means busing kids that don't drive across town 2 or 3 times a week, which is time that they could have spent practicing. I think the new fields could also bring about new opportunities for all the students and faculty. I think that there would be more spectators at our home baseball games if all they had to do was walk across the parking lot following work or practice. I think with the new facilities, spectators could also attend both baseball and softball games on nights when both were playing. There are really a lot of reasons why this needs to happen, but the most important one is that these kids deserve it. They work just as hard and are just as important as every other sport at Seguin High School. They deserve to have a real home field, a field that they can take ownership of, call their own and one they can be proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Next up, we have Ms. Rebecca Aguilar.
Good evening, Dr. Gutierrez and members of the board. My name is Rebecca Aguilar, and I am a softball parent here to express my concern about the state of the fields for softball and the need for a new softball and baseball shared facilities. I have 2 older children that have gone through the softball and baseball program here, and I currently have a junior that's in the softball program, and I have a 7-year-old who's looking forward to playing baseball. So with that being said, baseball and softball runs in our family, and we look forward to playing in a new facility. Our girls deserve to have their field upgraded. I don't know how many times my daughter has come home complaining about the conditions of the field, the cracks and the holes. They're afraid to run full speed because that they may roll their ankle. And that's a safety issue, and that's a concern for us. So we feel that they need to have this field updated. The appearance of our facility is substandard. You drive down College Street and you see the facility the way it is now. The concessions, the stands, you know, we have a lot of fans that come and see the games, but yet they bring their chairs, they have to sit down. If they're sitting on the top row, they have to stand up so they can see past third base. So we need an update to that as well. And I think just for the fact that, you know, we've updated our school. We have a brand new facility, a brand new high school, and we have a brand new football stadium. We need to have an upgraded and updated softball, baseball shared facility. And our programs deserve it. We want to ensure that, you know, that they'll feel the pride once they're playing, like Trevor mentioned, on their home field. And we're hoping that with your consent and approval that we can move towards that, so that way we can become a family of champions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilar. Next up, I hope I can pronounce this correctly, Mazarano, okay. Yeah, it's a little, sorry. I gave it my best shot.
Well, I apologize. I didn't realize I was asking to speak. But I do support both of our boys and girls, both baseball and softball. They deserve to have state-of-the-art facilities, as do all of our other athletic departments and other band, everybody. We dealt with, my son made varsity as a freshman. We dealt with, as Trevor said, trying to get him over to Smokey Joe. I can also tell you he would love to stay at Smokey Joe this year because it is his senior year. But they do deserve going forward, and whether that's this year, next year, whatever it is, all of these kids deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all taking the time to come address us this evening. All right, next up on our agenda are reports and information items, and first up is information regarding the Seguin ISD Comprehensive School Counseling Program. Ms. Nikki Biddings will be visiting with us this evening.
Good evening, President Thomas Jimenez, board members, and Dr. Gutierrez. It is with great privilege that I bring up some amazing counselors that we have in our district. They're part of our counselor advisory team. Back in the spring, they set forth wanting to create a design based on TEA's recommendation. And the year got busy, and it was their recommendation that they work on summer during their off time. And during this time is what you'll see before you, the Comprehensive School Counseling Program. I am going to turn it over to this counseling advisory team.
Hello, good evening. My name is Coita Perez Vasquez, and I'm the school counselor at Rodriguez Elementary. Want to introduce before we start? I'm Audra Herrera. I'm the McQueenie School Counselor.
Abigail Montes, lead counselor at the high school. Natalie McFadden. I was a counselor at AJB Middle School. My position changed, but I'll still be on the advisory team.
So in late June, we created the comprehensive school counseling document with the goal of guiding our school counseling program as well as our new to district counselors. This document is aligned to the Texas model as well as our Seguin ISD vision and mission.
And two things I'd like to share about that I'm very excited about are the, and I believe you have these in your folder maybe, but the Seguin ISD Counseling Department, we created a brochure. So as you can see, we now have something that we can share with stakeholders and parents when they want to know more about our program. So it's just helping us to better communicate with others exactly what we do and what our program is all about. So we have that. And then our last thing is we have now, the counselors have a time log in which we can better track our program. So this is going to help us because we can see where we spend most of our time and how we can utilize our time the best to support our students, because that's what we want to do, is support our students the best that we can. So we're very excited about these two things that we'll be able to present to the other counselors when we all come together and unite next week. So thank you.
No, I want to express my appreciation to your dedication to make sure that there is a solid guide for our counselors moving forward to serve as a resource for experienced counselors, but also new counselors. And your work is commendable, and I just appreciate your passion and your dedication, and our kids are going to benefit immensely because of your service. Thank you all.
And certainly appreciate you working over the summer. Ms. Biddings, can you let us know how many counselors we have within the district at this point?
We have a total of, with our mental health counselor and our mental health coordinator, 18.
18, all right. Thank you. Right.
And they can refresh my memory.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that include communities and schools?
Oh, in the communities and schools, we have 2 at Seguin High School, 1 at Barnes Middle School, 1 at AJB, 1 at Jefferson Elementary, and the other one's at Poplar.
And those are outside of the 18?
That's total with them.
With them, okay. All right, thank you. All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Ms. Cindy Moreno talking to us about some of our new administrator hires.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Gutierrez, and Board of Trustees. I am extremely excited to announce 3 new administrative hires, actually 4. We just had a recent hire yesterday, so I'll go ahead and introduce that person as well. We're going to start with our new Director of Elementary Education, Mrs. Sandra Reyes. If she could stand, if she's in the audience. She comes to us with over 30 years of experience, most recently serving as the elementary principal with Temple ISD. While leading Hector P. Garcia Elementary, she implemented Solution Tree PLCs, mentored new principals, and moved the campus to a B rating. Her data-driven focus and ability to coach will be a great asset to Seguin ISD. Next, we have our new dual language coordinator, Ms. Cynthia Laster. If she's here, would she please stand? Ms. Laster joins the district with over 25 years of experience, most recently serving as the bilingual and ESL specialist for Region 3. Her passion for improving the learning environments for students has driven her use of instructional models such as Fundamental 5 and John Schlitz's 7 Steps to a Language-Rich Instructional Classroom. Her educational and cultural experience will be an asset in her new role. Next, we have our new assistant principal for Weinert Elementary, Ms. Tanya Webb. I know she's in the audience. She comes to us with 19 years of classroom experience in Navarro ISD, teaching 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade. She is a native of Seguin and passionate about using data to drive and assess student growth. She's excited to serve the Seguin community and looks forward to building relationships with the staff, students, and parents of Weinert Elementary. And our most recent hire, Ms. Stephanie Hill, she's also in the audience. She will be our new ACE project director, and ACE stands for After School Centers on Education. Ms. Stephanie Hill joins us from San Antonio Independent School District, where she served as a campus ACE coordinator for the last 5 years. Ms. Hill coordinated the recruitment of priority students while creating buy-in from both students and families, while working with campus staff to align after-school activities for optimum student achievement. Mrs. Hill's experience in managing and implementing the 21st century grant requirements will be a benefit to our district's implementation. So we look forward to Mrs. Hill helping lead the way with our new ACE program in Seguin ISD.
Well, thank you very much and welcome, everybody. And I'm happy to see that Mrs. Hill was hired because that leads us right into our next agenda item, which is a little bit of a discussion and notification of the 2021-22 Nita M. Lowy 21st century, I can't remember what the CCL, too many acronyms, the Texas ACE Grant Award notification. So Mr. Pete Sylvius will be working with us.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Gutierrez, and thank goodness we have Stephanie here to introduce tonight too. So she came in, I think today's her first day, and we said, hey, you gotta stick around for a little bit. So it's great to have her here. So today is a day of celebration, so this is really fun to get to stand in front of you today and talk a little bit about some program resources coming into Seguin ISD. It feels like a long time since we've all been able to stand here and talk about this. It almost feels so long that the last time we were talking, it was to humbly say that we did not receive this grant. So 3 years ago, we applied for this, and today I get to say that we have it. So it's one of those situations where I feel like sometimes things happen for a reason, and I think we're in a much better place to achieve the goals of this grant this time than we would have been last time. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. So let's celebrate ourselves a little bit. So there were 164 applications submitted for this grant in Texas. 47 were funded. Seguin ISD was one of them. We applied for the maximum amount, which is 1.7 annually for 5 years. So that's a chunk of change for us to spend in Seguin ISD. The end date of our grant will be July 31st of 2027. So how did we come about to achieve this grant? Well, so let's start with the building blocks that they evaluated our application, and this in turn will become part of our evaluation of our programming that we develop. So we know that our program needs to be of high quality. We need to have consistency in the program. Part of the consistency measure will be that we are going to have attendance benchmarks that Stephanie has all kinds of experience with this, and we've had several conversations just this afternoon of how are we going to ensure that we're hitting those participation numbers. Lessons and activities are coordinated with content of the school day. I want to really stop and highlight this. I think one of the major achievements of our application was that we are going to own this program. So this is going to be a fluid extension of the school day. And I feel really proud about that. There's a lot of wonderful things happening in Seguin ISD. This is going to piggyback on those initiatives just beautifully. And then students are going to have say in what they do. We know that part of this is going to be creating that sense of engagement with students, and when there's choice, we know that engagement happens. And then we are going to make sure that we are building this. Part of the reason why we're celebrating this tonight is to build awareness about the program. We want Seguin as a community to think about the ACE program as being just one layer of the services provided by Seguin ISD. We're thrilled that it's a full house, so everyone can go home tonight and talk about how special it is that we have an ACE grant in our community now. So let's talk a little bit about the purpose of an ACE grant. So the first and foremost purpose of the ACE grant is it's an academic intervention. So within that academic intervention, we are going to be providing extra duty pay to our certified teaching staff to provide tutorials. And as I mentioned before, we want that to be a fluid extension of what's happening in the school day. So our ACE staff are going to know the students, they're going to know their successes, they're going to know their challenges, and they're going to be able to seamlessly connect the dots from what's happening during the school day to the after-school program. Next slide, please.
And I just want to interject and say that it's not going to be mandatory for our teachers to provide that tutoring, but keep in mind, Most of our teachers already stay beyond the school day to provide tutoring, so this is an opportunity for them to be compensated in a competitive way to provide that extended school day, especially, and it's especially important as we are going through COVID recovery.
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. So this next slide, this is where things start to get fun. And I think that this is where the magic is going to happen. So in order for us to create this sense of buy-in, create engagement, it's the wraparound services, it's the whole child-focused approach to how we build the rest of the afternoon. So we're going to tap into all of the wonderful programming that's happening in Seguin ISD. We're going to tap into the history that we have of really building relationships through engaging activities, a lot of STEM activities, a lot of outdoor programming, and all of those then enrichment activities create a program that is self-sustaining for years to come. So we're really excited about this piece. This is also a great opportunity for us to engage community partners that are providing all sorts of services to our adults and students in the community now can have an introduction into the school system, and we look forward to this part of the program, probably the most significant part. And lastly, the family component of this is huge. So we know that family engagement is a vital part of getting our students to that next step. So this program is going to hire a family engagement coordinator. That person is going to work hand in hand with Stephanie to build relationships within our community so that we can create this community within the school that is going to provide support to each other families. The families that are within this are going to have this sense of community that is going to allow the whole family to be lifted as a whole. This program, if done well, can provide sustainability to a family that they know my kiddo is safe and sound from 7:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening. At the middle school till 7. They'll know that those kids are going to be well taken care of, engaged, fed, and that will allow families to secure employment that might be more sustainable than they were able to find in the past. And all of this will be free of charge to the families. So our target is between 75 and 100 kiddos at each of the campuses. And that number is a little bit of a moving target. We're going to make sure that we're addressing the needs of our most vulnerable population. And so some campuses might have a few more than that. Some campuses might have a little bit less. So how are we going to do this? Because what I've just laid out is a pretty lofty goal. So Stephanie is going to get the heart and soul of all of this work. And that's why we wouldn't let her go home yet. So she's and truly she's already hit the ground running. I think we've spent an hour and a half in conversation already. She has many ideas about how we can make this happen. We're going to hire that family engagement specialist, as I mentioned. We're going to hire an administrative assistant to help her as well. In addition to that, we're going to have a site coordinator that's going to be based at each of the 2 middle schools, the 7 elementary schools. That person will work as an extension of the administrative staff so that they are well versed on all of the initiatives and all of the needs of the campus and are able to seamlessly integrate that into the after-school program. And then here's a real heavy lift. We're going to hire 45 after-school support staff that will be hourly staff. So I ask each of you to think about those people in your network that we might want to engage, because that's a lot of people to hire in Seguin. And so we're going to try to get to work on that as soon as possible. So now at this point, what I'd like to do is, I'd like everyone to hoop and holler because I think it's worth it. But I also want to ask if anyone has any questions. Some questions are probably better answered by Stephanie, but are there any questions or thoughts that you'd like to share?
Well, I think we should hoop and holler because this is a big deal. This is $8.5 million over 5 years. And with your leadership, we've been able to attain this. And this is huge for Seguin ISD and our community. So kudos to you and everyone who's part of this.
Thank you.
Do you all have any questions of Stephanie? Or yeah?
I know you will, but making this an exemplary program where people will look at you and ask you to help them set up programs in their school districts. You have the funds to do it. You need to do a great job, really make an impact in the school district. This is an amazing opportunity.
I was gonna say the same thing, and this is a recreation major's dream come true, and so, yeah, let's just rock this out.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We hear you loud and clear. We know your expectations, and we'll fulfill them. Yeah, promise. Yeah.
Have you started looking for those 45 positions? Have you put notifications out looking? No, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. We secured Stephanie today.
Okay, sorry, Stephanie.
I was just going to mention that TLU, since we have a good relationship with TLU, you might be able to get some of the seniors and juniors, especially the ones majoring in education.
Yes, sir. And thank you for bringing that up. And I did not highlight that. One of the partnerships that we used in our application, we received priority points for a partnership. And so we have an ongoing wonderful relationship with TLU. We wrote an MOU with TLU to provide ongoing support to the grant. The ultimate goal would be that we create a pipeline to where their education students, maybe their recreation majors, would funnel straight into Seguin ISD. So it's a grow your own type approach. One of the things we were just talking about was I believe that there's potential that we could figure out how to create a work-study program that we would fund through that partnership so that those students would apply for scholarship opportunities that are paid through TLU but using these funds. And I think that would be really a special opportunity. We did not write a formal MOU with Texas State, but I had conversations yesterday with some of their faculty about the same thing. And part of this, I think, is going to be a real education opportunity for us to reach out to New Braunfels, San Marcos, those neighboring communities that we often think of those communities being the ones where there are job opportunities, but we're going to start cherry picking from those communities and bringing them into Seguin as well. So here we have a lot of jobs that we can fill, and we want their best coming into Seguin. Yeah. Thank you.
They need those internships and work-study programs too,
Yes, ma'am.
as a former rec major myself, I know this, so this is perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
Especially over at Texas State.
Yeah. The words one of the Texas State faculty told me yesterday was paid internship, and we can do that.
We can do that.
Yeah. Is the city still one of our partners in this as well?
The city is. So the city was written into the contract, into the grant through an MOU contract that they will receive $74,000 of the grant. And what they will do is at the end of the JAM program day, which ends at 5:30, they will support the ACE program for an hour with 2 staff. What we have asked them to do is to build capacity within their staff around a program that is our coordinated school health program for K-8. It's called CATCH. CATCH has an after-school program that's called CATCH Kids Club. So our expectation is that the city staff will build capacity, they'll become experts in that CATCH Kids Club, and that can become a rotation from 5:30 to 6:30. And to compensate them for that, $74,000 will go to them.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Good
I
job.
was gonna ask how it worked with JAM, so.
Yeah, he just
you,
answered.
Yeah. JAM is a vital program to Seguin, to our community. We need JAM to be, actually, I would go as far as to say we need JAM to continue to grow. We need more opportunities for after-school support. So our goal and expectation of our program is that those can be 2 parallel successful programs.
Ms. Hill, welcome. You say something.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited. I've received a warm welcome from everyone I've been introduced to these past 2 days, and I'm excited and eager to get started.
All right. It's great to be a Matador. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up is item 4D, which is an update on the Seguin ISD athletic fields. We have Coach Daly and Mr. Lewis providing the update.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Gutierrez. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. And I also first want to say thank you for this awesome high school y'all built. It's been amazing walking around and seeing all the opportunities given to our kids to learn and grow in this community. As alumni, it's made me proud. So thank you for that. Through our first 3 months at the job, We have been evaluating athletes, coaches, programs, and facilities to determine what needs to improve to bring our athletic program to a championship level. Through our findings, we feel the number one concern in the athletic program is our baseball and softball facilities. In this slide right here, you can see some local high schools in the state of Texas with grass and what their high school fields look like. One's just down the road, one's at a previous school that I worked at. Nice playing surface, as you can see. And this is what our field looks like at the high school. As you can see, it's not the condition you just saw in the previous slide. The pitching mound, as you see on the right, is about 2 or 3 inches above ground. You can't even do any mound work on there. The grass lines are all messed up. That's our infield, and most of it's dead grass, as you can see with rocks you can't see in the picture. This is the current condition of our softball field. It's essentially the same way. Grass is on the infield, which there should be no grass on softball infields. There's cracks in the outfields and holes if you walk the field currently. Okay, so through this research, I met with some people. Fortunately, I have been through this process before by going through Harvey and the Houston area. We by Creeks, our field got redone. So the same company I brought in gave us this estimate. They would come in and remove the 2 to 3 inches of the topsoil. Okay, the baseball field currently has no irrigation. Softball does, so they would reuse the softball irrigation if we went this route. They would put new topsoil, sod, infill mix, which is a composite dirt that can handle up to 6 inches of rain, so it would eliminate some of the rainouts. New pitching, rubber, plate, everything, laser graded, fertilized, and you can see the cost at the bottom. Plus, on a yearly basis, it's going to cost us as a district about $25,000 a year. Manpower to mow, mowers, fertilizer, reseeding, all that kind of stuff. That's about average to maintain a baseball field, a grass baseball field per year. A softball field is a little less because it's less square footage. But those are the numbers up there on the grass if we redid it on the grass route. Okay, this is an example of the company's work. They're actually redoing the field again because they just got the Harvey money. So this is pre-Harvey, what it looked like. It took a while to get insurance money, so now they're totally redoing it. So you can see the dirt is composite dirt. You see the grass is totally different, and that's what the pitching mound looks like in the company. These next 2 slides are turf baseball and softball fields from a small town just down the road, Marion, of what their facilities look like. So they got a turf softball field. That's what it currently looks like. And there's their turf baseball field in Marion High School. So approximate cost of turf, we got a few estimates, but just through my research, on average, it's going to cost between $10.5 to turf a field per square foot. That's on average, no matter what company. I was just talking about the turf field. I'm not talking about the stadium. If you turf your field, there's going to be minimal maintenance. There is maintenance. You don't have to worry about watering, no chemicals, all that stuff that you have to buy, reseeding, and there's less staff required to maintain the field if you go on the turf route. The biggest thing, they'll be eliminate rainouts. It could rain and 30 minutes later you could be on the field. You just really got to worry about lightning. But another big positive is we can host a lot more playoff games and tournaments, which will showcase our facilities and not overdo that. It'll also bring money not only to our school district but to our town because people are having to eat out and stay in hotels. So it's just another resource to bring money into this town. But that's the approximate cost if we went the turf route. So through all this, some big concerns, like I said, as we went through this, is pride. As I walk through the school, I feel like these facilities are outdated compared to everything else in the school. Every other program in the school has something to be proud of, from CTE to fine arts to other athletics, and this is, in my opinion, the only 2 programs left on the outside looking in compared to all those things. And there's so many great opportunities for our school with great facilities. The new facilities will complement those programs if we decided to go this route. Another concern is the safety issue. There's numerous safety hazards. the field's uneven, there's cracks, there's holes in the field. I talked about the pitching rubber. The dirt is actually 4 inches lower than the grass, which you should not have that on as the ball comes off there. Just in this short time I've been here, there's been player injuries, kids taking balls in the face because it comes off that lip, they hit rocks. And then there's a possibility of knee and ankle injuries of kids stepping in holes. So it is a safety concern. My son's a baseball player, my young one's a softball player. I would not feel comfortable doing practicing on that baseball field right now. And I gotta tell these kids, I'm not gonna ever do anything, ask you to do something I'm not gonna ask my own kids to do. So I wouldn't even feel comfortable with my own child on this field currently in the state it is. And then the last thing is lost instruction time. It is a classroom, okay? It is a classroom for us, and I'm an old math teacher, so I like to use numbers, you know. Our opportunity right now, our baseball team and doesn't get the opportunity to do much during the athletic period. So if you think about that, 60 minutes a day, 300 minutes a week. If you start in January and go to end a baseball season, that's over 5,000 minutes loss of instruction time that other kids in the area are getting and our kids aren't getting. So I think we're putting our kids and our coaches at a disadvantage. I think we're asking them to take the STAR test without a calculator when everybody else is taking it with a calculator, but we're expecting them to perform at the same level. And that's just a little analogy that I have to that we're asking them to do something and holding them to the same accountability level that other kids have more advantages on. I don't know how we're going to fix this, but I feel like we need to find a way to give our athletes and our coaches the best resources to be successful and bring it to a championship level like we all want in this room. Thank you for your time. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lewis on the rest of the program.
Thanks, Coach. Coach has you can see why we hired Coach Daly, because he really has a great eye and a compassion for the kids, and he came in and has done a great job just looking at everything and really making some suggestions and you know, talking about some things. We've known this has been an issue. We've talked about it before, and we kind of got interrupted there, and so it's time to put it back on the table and come up with a good solution moving forward, so we can have some nice facilities here. So we talked about the needs. The needs are there's not a baseball facility, so the need is to build a baseball facility and to also make sure the kids on this next year, as you're playing at Smoky Joe, have a decent field to play on over at Smoky Joe as well, and make sure that's a good place. We're going to have to also look at our softball facility and make a determination of how we move forward there too, whether it's a grass infield or new turf and for amount of time, or do we just make the jump and knock it all out in one time and get the benefit of having new facilities for everybody, get that construction knocked out. Usually that's your more economical way to go if you knock them out at the same time. So we have to look at our funding options. Right now it's for immediate need, it's fund balance. It could be some of the revenue through sale of property. And then, you know, future bond, that bond does push it down the road a little bit. So but it's an option, so I want to make sure it's there. We are going to ask tonight that you give the superintendent power to, or the authority to select a construction method. And we talked about those in other construction times, to find the best way to move forward with this, let him select that, and then so we can at least get some pieces started on this, and then maybe come back very soon with a plan in place and ask for advice on the funding. Again, Coach Daly did a good job talking about our maintenance costs and what it's going to cost. If we want to do something right now and get everything that we just have in our that's currently in our inventory, the softball field, the baseball practice field, and Smoky Joe, you're looking at about a little less than $600,000 worth of maintenance just to put those facilities up where they need to be. That doesn't include the ongoing costs. So that's just to get them up to a competitive level, high school quality field. So there's a high cost from there. You know, we need on the new baseball stadium, and that includes all the amenities that go with it. Of course, the turf, the stands, the fencing, the seating, but also a good concession stand. You know, we'll have restroom requirements and those things that can be shared between the softball. And then again, the softball, the turf, the stands, the lights, the fencing, the LED lighting, and bring that facility up to a high quality too. We have a cost estimate for, if we would do everything, you're looking at about $5.7 million for a complete project on both. That is a rough estimate, but we feel like that would be inclusive, and anything we do would only go down if we can, depending on the construction method and the timeline and things like that. So that's a rough estimate. I wouldn't say rough, it's pretty detailed, but I think it's all-inclusive to get us where we need to be on having excellent facilities for our baseball and softball. So tonight's really just information, so you can ingest that, and maybe we can have a discussion now about what you're thinking and kind of give us an idea of where we need to go, next steps, and how soon, etc.
So I do just, to go back and just quickly summarize, we have the option for about $600,000 to just bring them to a basic level, not to have a safe baseball field to practice on, and still invest in Smokey Joe's to be able to utilize that facility. Keep in mind that we would take this maybe down the road 2 years, 3 years on a bond referendum. The other option is to invest a little more to get them on a more competitive level when you look at installing the turf, and you're looking in the millions at that point. And again, keep in mind that certain aspects we would kick down into the future in bond 23 or 24, whenever that time comes. The other option is to look at a possibility is taking care of the facilities right now. And this is just, information, a state of the conditions of these facilities. And I appreciate Coach Daly coming in and really taking a hard look at all aspects of athletics and really prioritizing the needs. And he's been in several competitive districts, and just giving everyone an opportunity to really process where we are. And if we go back to 2020, we were having conversations about the fields, and we're looking to start moving on at least possibly a design. And then everything came to a standstill with COVID, and dollars had to be diverted to COVID. And our attention moved to ensuring that schools were safe. And so now that we're back to some sense of normalcy, we want to make sure that we continue to keep all of our programs on our radar: fine arts, academics, athletics, and there's just a need to come back to the table and have this discussion, give it some thought, and really think about the next course of action for us moving forward. Either way, it's in the near future. Whether we go to a basic level, a full complex, or the bond referendum here in the near future, it's in the near future. But we have to ask ourselves, and I've said this before as I've had conversations with people in the community, do our students deserve this? And I feel like the culture has shifted in the last 4 years in a big way, where our community is not settling, and we have this amazing stadium, we have an amazing middle school being built, and I think it's time to ask ourselves, what do our students deserve? And thinking about not just our students right now at the high school level, but that 7-year-old, and thinking about the future. And so this is really information, and just, it's a lot to take in and think about, and then we will continue our conversations and come back to bring some recommendations to the board here very shortly. And then there's also the opportunity to discuss what Mr. Lewis just mentioned about superintendent's authority later on in the agenda.
Can we say something? Yeah, definitely. I'm looking both ways. Denise?
Can you tell us about what kind of upgrades need to happen at Smokey Joe to bring that where it needs to be for now?
Yeah, so Coach can probably talk about it, if I miss it, let me know, but we've talked, and infield needs completely redone, but the whole thing needs completely redone, wall to wall.
Is
Wall
that
to
all
wall,
on
but-
us, or is that on the city too? Where does that break down?
So, that's a good question. So, yes, you could say it's on the city, but, I mean, the city they don't really have the motivation or the dollars to do that, because we're pretty much the show at Smoky Joe. So we are working with them on on a way to get it updated for this next school year, because that will probably be where we have to play. So trying to get the infield done, get something done about the outfield, try to make it way better than it is now. So we're working on something with that, but it's not a long-term fix, and so it really depends on which direction the board wants to go. If we're not going to move forward with a new stadium, then we need to look at a more complete field renovation at Smoky Joe as well, because it needs to be there for years. If that's the case, so we got to really kind of determine what our next step's going to be, how much we put into that. So.
Well, the reality is that they need a safe and great facility to
Yes,
play in right now.
absolutely.
So we need to provide that for them.
Absolutely.
In my mind, we need to do the other as well. So if you need to know where we stand, I guess each of us could tell you where we stand on that. But I said where I stand, so there you go.
So depending on later in the agenda on the construction method that we give the superintendent authority to take on, is it feasible to get a new stadium, baseball and softball stadium, sharing concessions and restrooms by start of season?
No, that's not. It's too quick, especially with the procurement methods and bidding the project and having it ready to go. So we will need to do some additional work for this season to make sure the fields are in good shape before we move forward.
One quick thing, we do have a design that we paid for the design of the facility already.
No, we did an agenda item in 2019 to select an architect. However, we have the authority to interview and select architects on our own without that. So, but we never went through. I forgot what month we did that in. I'm sorry.
I can't remember either.
But then we had, I think it was in. I'm not going to speculate. I can't remember. But then we did not do any funding approval to pay for the full design.
So I would like Coach Daly's input on that as well, since he's with us. On the architect, on the design of the facility.
Yeah, I mean, I've met with a few people, but just in this general, what we would kind of want to do with one ticket booth, one thing, but I haven't looked at any designs.
Right.
But
I just didn't know how far we got in that process. With the
for most I
architect.
talked to, it's about a 3 to 4 month process from the time they break ground to build the turf and the stadium. But the process of the architect and getting the permits and all that, honestly, I've never done that before, so I can't tell you how long that takes.
In your recommendation, would it be turf or natural?
I would go turf. It's the more beneficial. In the end, it's a big number up front, but in the end, it's going to save you, within 10 years, you'll save you money.
Just on maintenance alone?
On maintenance and the amount of money that you're bringing in with tournaments and stuff. Like Perfect Game, for instance, if we had a turf stadium, they would rent it out probably all summer long. That's the youth organization that you play in the summer at my son, and they play on turf fields all over the place. And if you have turf, they pay $500 a team just to come play every weekend.
Softball as well?
Yeah, softball as well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
my daughter plays like 7 games a day. It's great. I mean,
Well, so on the turf, how often does it have to be replaced?
So the biggest things that is the pitching mound and the batter's box. Well, it's kind of advanced in the last couple of years. Now they make these called landing strips. So most companies, when you buy it, they give you 8 strips, and you usually can be able to use 2 a year. So on that pitching mound where you're landing there, it wears out. It just velcros up, and you put another one down. So and then a lot of people think there's no maintenance to it, but there is maintenance to turf. The reason it tears is because you don't push the pellets back in there. So you do have to sweep back in there. And if there's a hole right there, that's what happens. That's why it tears. People don't put pellets back in there. So now your spikes are landing straight on the gravel and stuff underneath, not on the actual pellets. So there is maintenance, but it's very low maintenance. So they do have to take care of it. But they do give you landing strips in the batter's box and on the pitching mound. And then sometimes around first base, because that gets worn down because holding runners on, that they'll make a little strip right there for you too. So you're not replacing the whole turf, it's just little built-in patches, I guess, so to say.
Well, I'm very grateful that you're here, and I appreciate the time you put into this research. I didn't realize how bad the softball and baseball fields were until I looked at the pictures, so I appreciate that. And safety is of most, importance. We really need to make sure those kids are safe, and we do want them to be proud of their facility and proud of their school. Any other comments or questions?
And also not lack in the instructional time, the number of minutes that our kids are being, that they're not being able to do.
I don't think you can teach pitching on a bus, I'm not sure.
No.
Yes, sir, Mr. Guerra.
Okay, Bill, you probably recall the facilities committee. This was part of that committee, right? Did it fall to tier 1?
It was in the tier 1. It's one of the things listed on the priority list. I mean, it's a long list, but it is on our long-range facilities planning list. Yes, sir.
No further questions? Mr. Amador?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment, and I say, let's get going.
Well, later on tonight, we have an action item up. I guess that's it. Thank you all for everything that you put into this evening. All right, next up on our agenda is for the board to go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Opens Meeting Act. Government Code 551.071, 551.074, 551.129, which is consultation with legal counsel, including possible telephone consultation with legal counsel as necessary to address legal concerns, implications, and answer any legal questions regarding posted agenda items. One thing we're going to be looking at is emergency operations and safety protocol. Also, Government Code 551.074, which is to discuss personnel matters, including appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of an employee or employees. We're now going to closed session. It is 7:27. All right, it is 8:16, and we will now reconvene to the open meeting, and we will be taking no action items this evening. Moving on to Item 7 on the agenda. These are our consent agenda items to consider and possible approve as applicable. Policy BE Local states that the consent agenda item, I'm starting over. BE Local states that the consent agenda shall include items of a routine and or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. All such items shall be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under single motion and vote as applicable. First up, we have the approval of board minutes of the public meeting June 15, 2021, the regular meeting June 15, 2021, and the special meeting of June 22nd, 2021. Item B is the approval of tax collection reports for June 2021. Item C, approval of proposed budget amendments and financial statements for May 2021. Item D is approval of donations received for June 2021. Item E is approval of investment report for the fourth quarter ended June 30th, 2021. Item F, approval of investment report for the year ended June 30th, 2021. Item G, approval of district-wide maintenance parts and services, RFP number 2101. Item H, approval of district-wide HVAC systems maintenance parts and services, which is RFP 2102. Mr. Jenkins is going to read the rest.
Item I, approval of district-wide plumbing systems maintenance, equipment, parts, services, RFP number 21-03. Item J, approval of district-wide facilities maintenance, electrical equipment, parts and services, RFP number 21-04. Approval, item K, approval of district-wide education services, RFP number 21-05. Item L, approval of property, liability, and fleet insurance for 2021-22. Item M, information regarding an interlocal agreement with communities and schools for integrated student support, ISS. Item N, Seguin ISD continuation of Head Start program. Item O, information regarding the purchase of interior and exterior painting services for Weinert Elementary from Azteca Designs Incorporated through the Buy-Board Purchasing Cooperative. Item P, personnel information, professional employees. Item Q, acknowledge Public Information Act request, June through July 2021.
All right, we have the consent agenda items as listed. Does anybody want to pull one for possible individual consideration? If not, do I hear a motion for approval? Mr. Guerra?
Madam President, I move that we approve consent
Okay.
items A through Q.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Amador? No further questions. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign.
I would like the minutes to reflect that I vote yes for all consent agenda items except for item 7J. I will abstain on that item.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, moving on to our action items. First up, we have the review of the 2021 is that right? 2021 Optional Flex School Day Program and approval of the 2021-22 application for a high school and Mercer Bloomberg Learning Center at Sager. So Dr. Escobar, you're back there somewhere. These years are all running together. While they're walking up here, I do want to say, Ms. Moreno, we had quite a few new teachers on that list, and I sure hope we get to meet them sometime. I know it's a big ask, but just let them know that we all welcome them to the district. Thank you.
Good evening. I know that we saved the best for last. No cheering for fields or anything, but for optional flexible school day. Good evening, Madam President, School Board, Dr. Gutierrez. As we have come before you the last couple of years with our optional flexible school day program, we're here to give you all an update. And the main update for you guys that you need to know is why this is so critical to Seguin High School. With me this evening is Mr. Ryan Randolph. He's our associate principal. He's actually the one in charge, the administrator in charge of the program. And then the lady that does it all, that has these kids going through that stage, this is Michelle Avalos. She is our coordinator for the optional flexible school day program. She's going to chime in anytime here. So I'll just go through this real briefly. You guys know what it is. We have kids who have needs that are beyond our control sometimes. They just can't be at school full time. Life gets in the way. We've talked about this. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we thought of a way that we could keep these kids at Seguin High School and have them come 4 or 5 hours a day, and it's actually something TEA allows us to do to be able to be in this program. So we applied for the optional flexible school day program, got it, and it's been a huge success at Seguin High School. We would like that to continue. So basically, the students that are at risk of dropping out, we try to get them in the program so they can finish high school. And we'll talk a little bit about numbers in a little bit. So if somebody wants to, I don't have the remote. So program description, basically the kids come in and out based on their needs. Ms. Avalos usually creates a schedule for them, and I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about what the average day will look for an optional flexible school day student. Go ahead.
Hello. So for our flexible school day students, I can have some coming in at 8:30 in the morning, some coming in at 10 because they've just gotten off of work, some not coming until after lunch because I can only have so many kids in the room at a time. But when we do that, I take into consideration any of the teachers that I have in there helping us. If we have an English teacher, which Ms. Weir has been a great help with that, we'll work on English. That kid will work on English, or if they're having problems with something. It's a way for us to, they just need somebody to care just a little bit more because they're on that edge of not coming back and kind of feel like a mom to all of them. I work for them till I go to bed, and I tell them that every night, every day, because some of them need to leave early so they can go and work or take care of their baby, the babysitter's going to leave or anything like that. And so I give them my number so that they can message me to unlock things for them. They can continue working if they have questions. And I say, if I don't answer anymore, that means I've gone to sleep. So it's a great program for these kids.
Thank you, Ms. Avalos. So we can go ahead and move on. We've already gone over this. So this is a critical slide. I want you to focus on these numbers. And what we're going to look at is basically the credits earned by students in the flexible school day program and how it has increased from year to year. So we had 834 total credits in the program alone. This is from all the students that are in there. That was up 358 credits from 2019 to 2020. So that was a significant jump. Obviously, we had a lot of students during COVID that needed recovery. So that had a lot to do with it. But just to be able to pull that out, and these courses, they're not easy. They're not easy. And now we're going to Ingenuity, which is a new platform. And these courses are very rigorous. But through the help of Ms. Avalos and other teachers that go in and out of that flexible school day program, our students are able to do this. And it's not easy. I want to tell you that. Now, probably the most significant number that we look at here is that 84 students graduated from the optional flexible school day program this year, and that was up 20 from 1920. That's 84 students who we wouldn't have captured otherwise. Those kids would have been gone somewhere, who knows where. But we were able to keep them in school, put them through the program, and 84 of them walked that stage at Seguin High School a couple months ago. So we're very proud of that. So huge numbers in that. So Mr. Randolph's going to talk a little bit about what does it take to get in the program, in case you're asked. Question. Yes?
So underneath the 84 students that graduated, there were 85 students enrolled in 2019, 2020. How many were enrolled in 2021? That's how many were.
Yes. So that
the number is just the year wrong.
the year. Correct. Sorry about that. Mr. Randall's going to talk a little about what is the requirement to get in. Obviously, we can't just pull you out of the classroom and say, you're in. You know, there's a process for this. So Mr. Randolph's going to talk a little bit about it.
So the flexible school day program is something that we do have to apply with TEA to be able to offer. We have to have our schedules and our personnel set up for that, and we handle that. As far as the students getting in, the process for the students to actually be accepted into the flexible school day program, they meet with their counselor, and at that time, they look at the academic needs, the credit needs that they may have, where they sit on their path towards graduation. With that, they determine if that student would be a good candidate for the flexible school day program, and that student and their parent fill out an application. And they fill that application out, and the flexible school day admissions committee will meet. And that's myself, Ms. Avalos, our counselors, and we meet and determine which students will be able to enter that program. Once those students are accepted, they start that on the very first day of the next grading period. So each 6 weeks, we were able to allow more students to come into that program if there's room available.
So in conclusion, I call this numbers talk because often we can talk a lot about programming, but look at these numbers. 85 students enrolled, 834 credits earned, 884 2021 graduates. That should be 2021 graduates. So that's a huge number, especially when we're talking about graduating a class of 450 to about 500 every year. So very proud of this. I think Mark can too would tell you, Dr. Gutierrez, that this is one of the huge reasons why Seguin High School is way above the state in graduation rate. We're above. I mean, when you look at other schools, similar demographics, they're below us. I think this has a huge bearing on what happens with our graduation rate every year, and we're very proud of this program. We're hoping that we continue this, and this only opens more doors for the students of Seguin when sometimes those doors are shut. This is a great opportunity for them, and we're very proud of this program, very proud of the staff for working in this program, and if you guys have any questions, let us know.
So the one student, were they able to finish up this summer, or so
He
they'll
just completely, I mean, we pulled him in, I told him, come sit with me at my desk, we called mom in, they let him sit in the counselor's office, we tried everything, but he just completely stopped.
But if he wanted to come back next year, we welcome him with
Yes.
Of course. And we've had students come back, so they know this. It's an environment for them where they're a little bit older age. They feel comfortable because they come in and out. They don't have to run around the campus looking for classes, meeting old classmates and all that. So it's a.
I think another thing that they like is that they can work at their own pace. They don't have to sit and listen and then write this and now do the homework, or, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes we don't have time for that. Yes, we need to learn it, but we've got to get to our end goal. And so some of them like that because they can work at their own pace. They can maybe not work in the morning and work on it all night, and I'm still going to be there to support them. They can, and that's a very big thing for them, I feel.
And what's just amazing is when you look at the total number of students enrolled and how many were able to graduate and walk the stage with their peers. And that just says a lot about the level of support that they have from you all. And Ms. Avalos, you were really the heart of this program, and we appreciate everything that you do. And I know it takes a team, and
Absolutely.
the team is making a difference. You are making a difference.
I certainly hope you get to give them either a hug or a high five when they cross that stage.
Yes, I just scream when they walk by me and they get excited with that. Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Since the student needs to, I guess, apply or show a need or desire to continue, is there any way to find the ones that just want to leave? Encourage them to stay?
Of course, we have a lot of different system supports. I know one of them is sitting back there, Ms. Abby Montes. Can you wave? She will not let a kid walk out of there without any plans. I mean, if a kid says, I want to leave, that's just not an option anymore. Because we have a lot of things we can put that child through, meaning one of these flexible school days. So there's definitely a lot of support before a child just says, even if they don't come, we go find them. We have truancy. I know Ms. Biddings works with everybody.
We pulled back a student who didn't graduate last year, and I called Ms. Smith, the attendance coordinator, and asked her, Ms. Smith, he's got only 3 half enrollments, 3 credit, so 1.5 credits he needs to finish to graduate. Please, can we try one more time? And so she called mom, and mom answered the phone, and Ms. Smith knows how to talk to people to let them know we need to get in here. He came that afternoon, and I said, if you can come with one more day, I promise we can get it done. And he did it, and he got to up the stage this year.
That's good. Great news.
I have a quick question. So are there any limitations as far as how many, you mentioned TEA earlier, does TEA dictate how many students can go through this program?
So we actually originally put in the plan 75 students, but you have the flexibility to go up as high. We try to keep it under 100. We don't want to overwhelm Ms. Avalos. There are other teachers that are assisting as well, but it's the one-to-one attention, really, the 1 to 3, the 1 to 5, that really makes this program successful. So they come in at different times. They're not all there at the same time. So that's what makes it successful. So we don't want to build it where it's 200 students and it's not manageable, but certainly if the need is there, we would probably have to expand.
As you get more staff, you have the staff.
Correct, sir. I mean, we'd have to, in our next review, we'd have to say, okay, we need to apply for more. So right now, I think it's very manageable what we do. We try to, this is really the last path of resistance that we try to send our students through. We have to go through other channels first, credit recovery, anything that we have available. And then as a last resort, we'll say, okay, we're going to move you to flexible school days so you can get done. So we try other interventions first, obviously, on the campus.
Are you starting up with some kids next year already?
We hope to, if we get approved by TEA, we will be able to start with new students who have already applied last year.
23, I think, have already applied. And then there's a list, there's a waiting list. It's a very popular program. I mean, and it's popular because I think kids, it gives them the opportunity to work and do other different things. Now, we don't just take anybody. I mean, we have to go through the process, meet with the parents and all that, so.
We're not using ATEX anymore.
We're using an Edgenuity
Yeah.
this next
And we've been doing the training
Yes.
recently, so it's gonna be really good for our students, I think.
I think so too.
So you mentioned that there's a waiting list. Do they track that every year?
So the waiting list comes from a student showing interest or a need, and they'll sign up with the counselors, and then we will, like at the end of the year that we're doing, that's what I'm talking about, a waiting list. They signed up to try to get interviewed and everything for the beginning of the school year.
Okay, and you mentioned like every 6 weeks, some turnaround.
There's some that we can't take because I can only fit so many kids in the room. But I do take like 25 in the morning and 25 after lunch.
Any further questions? Thank y'all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your support, guys. We really mean it. Thank you.
So in front of us, we have, they're asking for approval of the 2021-22 application for the optional flexible school day program for Seguin High School and Mercer Bloomberg Center at Sagard. Do I hear a motion for approval? Mr. Amador, do I hear a second? Mr. Jenkins? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank y'all. Yeah. Thank y'all for all the hard work that you do for those kids. All right, next up is item 8B, which is possible to adopt a resolution for the assignment of fund balance. It's the first time we've seen you this evening.
What we need is a space here so we can get through the, I apologize. One of these days I'm going to come up and not say something smart, just stick to the
We need a little
routine.
comic relief.
Right, well, exactly. So Dr. Esquivel said it was his pleasure to share with you the last thing in the evening, but it's not his pleasure to share with you the last thing of the evening. That would be, I think, mine. So we have several items here, but we're starting off with the, President Jimenez, members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez, we have the resolution for the assignment of fund balance. This is the result of the budgetary process that took place earlier this year. Generally speaking, we would hold off on this request, these requests that came up through that budgetary process. We would hold off on that until November, whenever we share the actual audit for the prior year with you. But as you know, there have been a number of additional funding streams that have come through for Seguin ISD as well as other districts in the state, not the least of which are ESSER 3 and ESSER 2, as well as the grant program that was discussed earlier today. So there are lots of funding, but along with that becomes an urgency to make a lot of purchases to get some things up and running. So we felt like it was safe and prudent to go forward with these fund balance items. If I could just interject one small caveat in that, is the fact that when timing is everything when it comes to getting these things published and available for you. Earlier tonight, you heard a presentation regarding the ball field, the softball complex. What you see in your fund balance assignment request here is not intended to be presumptuous, and nor does it obligate the district to move forward with those purchases as specified there. And what I mean by that is all you're doing right now is saying, if you choose to move forward, and we can talk about that when we get to it, there's a separate agenda item that maybe speaks to it a little bit more, but the funding is arranged for a certain level of maintenance that would probably be considered the very, very bare minimum necessary, as you can see from the amount, $250,000. There's another item in there associated with that, and that's for a mower for $25,000. Well, obviously, should the board decide to move forward with turf as opposed to grass, there would be no need to make that purchase. I only say this because just because you approve the fund balance assignment does not obligate the district to make these purchases exactly as they're notified here. We just couldn't go beyond that for the specific item noted. We could go up to it, or we could go beyond it if the need arose, but it would either have to come back to you for additional approval, or it would come out of the general operating fund budget to supplement any difference. Hopefully that's somewhat clear. Aside from that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for anybody about any of these items?
I have one question. The buses, is this just standard, we're sort of rotating through replacing the buses now?
It is. So actually standard would be to run that through the general operating fund budget, and that's what we've done historically. This year, the district has, we don't have definitive assistance from the state. This gets so technical, I don't mean for it to. While we do have ESSER 3 funds available to use for certain continuation of services, we also have our general operating fund budget that we would typically use to purchase buses and make other purchases of that nature. However, we don't have the level of funding this year under the general operating fund level that we normally would. And we have a number of obligations that we're tied into. So this meets all the criteria under ESSER 3. It also meets all the criteria as a fund balance assignment. So in this case, we decided not to put it into ESSER 3, which would be an alternative, but to go ahead and use fund balance. It's really just a matter of doing something other than using your operating funds, because it's a little prohibitive this year. We just don't have the dollars.
I have a question. This might be for Mr. Adam back there on these uniforms. Back when I had a band kid, the marching band uniforms were sent off to be dry cleaned. Does that still happen, or do the students take them home and wash them? And I'm asking that also about the Mariachi uniforms and the Ballet Folklorico. Are they taken home? I'm just wondering if they're lasting. It seems like we just bought Mariachi uniforms.
There's been a couple different scenarios. The high school, the marching band uniforms now are currently machine washable. It's a kind of trend that's happened in the last 10 years or so. So we have parent committees that get together and take the uniforms home, launder them, and then bring them back. They're stored at the high school. The Mariachi uniforms, the current high school varsity uniforms are 8 years old, and that's what this purchase is for. They're sent out and laundered, like dry clean. There's been a couple other Mariachi uniforms along the way, outfitting AJB, and then when Barnes came along, I think last year we purchased uniforms from Barnes for the first time. So there's been some supplemental uniforms. So this would be actually purchasing for the high school varsity group, and the current varsity uniforms would go to the JV high school group, which currently doesn't have uniforms.
Okay. And then the Ballet Folklorico, does this include the beautiful dresses and things along that line?
Correct. Yeah, the dresses, blouses, there's a series of different accessories.
Have we supplied those in the past, or have the parents been supplying them?
It's a new program, so this would be outfitted.
With the elementary school, it's new.
Yeah, last year we had it at the elementary school, but we didn't do any.
So we launched Ballet Folklorico this past year for the first time for elementary and secondary.
But are these costumes for the high school?
This is the coming year will be the first time high school has a class that meets every day. And so this would be the first purchase ever for uniforms. Currently they don't have uniforms.
From what state of Mexico are the uniforms from?
I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's Jalisco.
That's impressive that you need
This-
Learning along the way.
This is an unrelated question, but do they go to competitions with?
There are
Okay.
competitions, and I rely a lot on the
That's what they
Superintendent and our Ballet Folklorico instructor, who has a lot of experience with that. But yes, they're looking towards going to some competitions.
So that's what they need. They need them.
Yes, they'll perform
And as I was going to ask, if one of the goals was still eventually they will perform with the mariachis?
yes,
Both
do some
together.
joint performances, and then they'll have some competitions on their own as well.
Any further questions about any of the items on this list?
The maintenance truck that needs painted, it doesn't need just a new maintenance truck that can get by with it
Yes,
just being painted?
It's low miles, and
Okay.
it just needs some paint on it.
Okay.
And over the past several years, we have been renewing the fleet of maintenance vehicles, so the need is not as great as it once was a couple of years back.
All right, no further questions? So we have in front of us a request to adopt the resolution for the assignment of fund balance as presented. Do I hear a motion for approval? Mr.
Madam
Yap?
President, Make a motion to approve of the adopt the resolution for assignment of fund balance.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Moreno. No further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Linda, is that your right hand? Sorry, I wasn't sure. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, thank you. Have you? Okay. Okay, next up is item 8C, which is to consider appointing an audit committee for the Board of Trustees. And I have reached out to last year's, I don't believe they met in person last year or met the audit committee. So I'd like to appoint again Denise Crittenden, Alex Guetta, and Carl Jenkins, if they're all good with that. All right. So I'd like to hear a motion for approval. Thank you, Mr. Amador. A second from Ms. Duncan. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 7-0. All right, next up is item 8D, which is a resolution for extending the paid sick leave for COVID-19 related illness.
Yes, and arguably, Ms. Moreno could present this just as effectively, but since I'm already up here,
okay.
we drew straws and I got the short straw. So this is, in essence, an extension of what was done last year after the Fed pulled, they did not renew, I should say, the extended sick leave. So the districts around the state had the opportunity to extend that sick leave an additional 10 days, but it would be on the districts, it would be they would fund it independently. So we've decided to go with that again this year with the caveats, as you can read throughout the resolution.
You want to explain that caveat to us?
Well, primarily, the distinction is in the initial parameters, the leave was just provided to everyone.
Correct.
It was just front-loaded to everyone. In this case, that will not be the case. Individuals, should they choose the leave, and it's their prerogative, but there'll be some requirement to show evidence that they actually are COVID positive, as well as have done what they can to prevent being COVID positive, that being having vaccination. So with those two forms of evidence, they could show they've done their part. They still are positive, need to be quarantined, and would not have to take their own personal leave. Up to 10 days, the district would put that bill.
All right, thank you.
Would that extend if their children were positive or just the employee themselves?
The way the resolution is written, this is exclusive to the staff member themselves.
And so to be clear, an employee they have the choice as to whether they want to be vaccinated or not. It's not a mandate. However, in order to qualify for that leave, you have to have evidence that you have been vaccinated and have evidence of a positive COVID test. Otherwise, if you are not and you do have to be out, then you have the time, the state, local days, some that have carried over. So we feel strongly that in an effort to encourage vaccinations, that hopefully this would incentivize some to become vaccinated, because our ultimate goal is to have our students in our classrooms with their certified teacher. And what we experienced last year was a lot of substitutes having to come in, and what we did see after the vaccinations in the springs, we did see cases significantly decrease, but we were still wearing masks. And so we are moving into territory where masks are not mandated. They'll only be encouraged. And so we are trying to maintain as safe of an environment for our students and staff, and particularly our medically fragile student population, and we have medically fragile staff as well. So we just want to keep student staff safety and well-being at the priority, doing what we can within the parameters that we do have.
All right, any questions from any of the trustees? If not, do I hear a motion for approval? Okay, Mr. Amador is asking that we approve the resolution to extend 10 additional paid sick leave days for Seguin ISD employees that are in quarantine or isolation because of COVID-19 exposure or illness. Do I hear a second? Mr. Jenkins, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Got to keep those kids and teachers safe. All right, last up is item 8E, which is to consider and take possible action concerning a resolution delegating authority for construction and related procurement. We're speaking about the baseball and softball complex. You're still here?
I am still here, yes, but probably just for a short period of time, thinking optimistically. So I think most of the subject has been addressed. The detail that remains at this point is a decision as to how the district will go about designing and building a baseball complex, or even if the district will go about designing and building a baseball, softball complex. The best way to determine that is to try to get some valuation. There are certain procurement methods that allow you to do that. When I say a procurement method that would allow you to do that, as was discussed earlier today, we have approval for a given architect to do design. That would be Fluker. We certainly can revisit that should there be a need to do so. If we had design plans for the complex, then we could do something similar to what we've done with AJB and Jefferson, even Stadium, and that is, in essence, go out for a competitive sealed proposal. We would have the plans. We would have something that contractors could provide us with estimates on, real estimates of the cost. So that would be an option. The downfall with that is it's the most lengthy option. So depending on the urgency of the matter, how quickly you want to have a complex put together, that would be the one that would take the longest, because you got to go through the design phase first, then you have to bid out the construction. Alternatively, you could choose one of the other methods. There's the CMAR, which is the construction manager at risk option. There's the design build option. Depending on the project scope, possibly even a job order. I think that's highly unlikely. But there are pluses and minuses with each of those. And we've had a board workshop a couple of years ago that really went into those in detail. I share that limited amount of information with you because we could go through all of that and then propose a construction methodology to the board, and the board could decide which one to move forward with. But that's going to take us some time. Whereas if you delegate the authority to the superintendent or designee to, we can still gather the data, we can talk to our architects, we can talk to different individuals, determine what is, in our best recommendation, the most appropriate method of construction delivery. Then the superintendent could actually move forward with the procurement based on whatever that methodology is. So if we need to move forward with a bid, then we would move forward with a bid. If it's an RFQ, then we could move forward with an RFQ. What this does not do is give the superintendent authority to say this is what we will construct. And it doesn't give him the authority to say this is how much we will spend. We will still come back to the school board with that recommendation, and then you will still have that final decision.
Do we have any questions? No. So, do I hear a motion to take action to delegate authority for construction related procurement for proposed baseball and softball complex to the superintendent or his designee? Mr. Amador is really behind this. Do I hear a second? I'm sorry? Oh, Ms. Duncan seconds that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. All right, there you go. When we start looking at the number of restrooms, I hope we don't have to put as many restrooms in there as we did in that football stadium.
Maybe we could borrow some
Mr. Pizzaglia and Mr. Lewis could give you all kinds of details on restroom layout.
There's a
if you'd like.
formula.
There's a formula for everything. All right.
Thank you all.
So do any of the board members have any comments or requests this evening? Nobody? All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Mr. Amador, do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? Y'all told me I had to go through this. Thank you, Ms. Moreno. Everybody in favor, raise your right hand, and we are adjourning at 8:54.